Hello, Internet. Welcome back to the podcast that no one asked for. My name is Guy.
And I'm Babs.
And no one asked for this. Today, we will be talking about the 8th edition of a Spider-Man movie, which is Spider-Man Far From No Way Home.
It's home. It has a home in it.
Something at home. I also maintain it's Spider-Man No Way Home. And it should have been called Spider-Man Homeless. That's what I said. The moment Far From Home was over and they released the whole identity with J.K. Simmons, whatever. Pause. Baz, what's your gut reaction?
I loved it. I'm not supposed to talk about a little situation that happened in the movie. I need to watch the movie again to not have that experience, but I loved the movie. It was great. I liked it. I loved it.
This movie, apparently, I do not watch trailers to any of these Marvel comic book stories, but apparently there was a lot of leaky stuff and there was a lot of trailer analysis, but my gut reaction is whatever you were expecting, it was better than that. So let's get right into it. We're going to talk about the most memorable moment. Babs, what's the most memorable moment?
I have a few, but I have one that feels like for dramatic purposes, spoiler alert, Aunt May dies. It's very dramatic. It's very sad.
We do not do spoiler alerts here. We just spoil.
Yeah. But for fun's sake, I really liked when they made fun of all of the other Spider-Man villains. Just like, your name is Dr. Octopus, Otto Octavius or whatever. Like really, that's your name? And like, this guy is a dinosaur. Like, I thought that was funny because some of the Spider-Man villains are pretty silly.
Comic book villains in general can get really silly if
really
you're
silly.
Being realistic. But it was on brand because he did make fun of Doctor Strange in Infinity War, talking about his made-up name. So my most memorable moment is definitely it's between, I don't know if you would even consider one moment or two, but they build on each other, which is when all three Spider-Men are talking about the loss that kind of drives them to continue to be a hero, even though you can never really get everything you want in life as long as you're Spider-Man. So with Andrew Garfield talking about Gwen and Toby talking about Uncle Ben, and then obviously Tom talking about Aunt May, and it all kind of culminates in with great power comes great responsibility. That's the common thread between the three of them, and that was definitely my most memorable moment because it was the moment I was closest to crying in the theater. Aww. And that is always, nothing wrong with crying, that is always going to be the most memorable when you're like fighting your tear ducts for a couple seconds. Next, let's talk about our background bums and or bosses. Barbara, do you have a bum or a boss?
I have a boss. I really like Jamie Foxx in this movie. I thought he brought it up a notch from the whatever previous movie he was in as that
The Amazing Spider-Man 2.
Electricity guy or whatever his name is. Electricity guy?
Electro.
Yes. But this time he was like full Jamie Foxx. Like, I loved it.
So how do you say Jamie Foxx is sexy without saying Jamie Foxx is sexy? I have also a boss, and it's J.K. Simmons. We had gone to see National Champion, whatever the name of that movie is, whether it's plural or singular. And he's doing his amazing I'm an Oscar-winning actor, bow before me performance, and then he's just kind of a shitty journalist. And being J. Jonah Jameson again, he doesn't need to do this. So it's kind of like he has to be, like, of all the people in this movie, he doesn't have to do this. So he's definitely going to be my background boss. Next, special shout out. Bad, do you have any special shout outs?
Special shout out to people who have the natural ability to web shooter without having to build a thing. Apparently it's a very uncommon thing among the Spider-Mans. I don't know. Among these three in this movie, there's only one guy that can do it. But I don't know, in the Spider-Verse, how many actual spider people don't need to build a web shooter?
Those are questions for another podcast. But yeah, I did like that little sequence when he was discussing with the other spider people why they need the web shooters and why they can't just shoot them out of there.
And they were like explaining all the little issues, like sometimes it gets jammed up and like sometimes it's
Yeah, that was cute. It was a cute little like spider problems.
Do you think about it before you? Does it only come out? Does it come out of anywhere else? Like
that was awesome. My special shout out is to the pitch men or women, whoever was going to restaurants with Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield and J.K. Simmons and Alfred Molina and Willem Dafoe and getting them to buy into being in this movie. You the real MVP. So special shout out to the pitch people who were able to put this together. I know everyone likes to blanket give Feige most of the credit whenever the MCU is discussed, but honestly, that couldn't be all him. And whoever that team is, thank you. Next, we're going to talk about the M, however you make a P in sign language. So who's your most valuable performer?
I think we have the same person. Willem Dafoe, Green Goblin. He was just amping up. He was just doing Willem Dafoe stuff. He was very dramatic moments.
Yes. So I thought about making him everything. Like I feel like for every category, special shout out, background boss, most memorable moment, it could all, and obviously my most memorable moment was linked to Willem Dafoe because he's the one that killed May, but the whole list could just be Willem Dafoe. That guy jumped back into a character that is not one of his most popular on-screen performances amongst fans of Willem Dafoe, but it just showed why it works. Like, honestly, the movie doesn't work without the Spider-Man Tobey Maguire villains. The two most compelling villains in the movie are definitely Alfred Molina and Willem Dafoe. Full stop. So without those villains, it doesn't work. So it goes to show whenever, you talk about people liking Tom Holland more than Tobey Maguire, or liking Tom Holland, the home movies over the Raimi movies, or the Watts movies, whatever you want to, however you want to label them. The issue that I continually always went to is Tom Holland really didn't have a good villain set and never really had any real problems because Tony Stark money just got him out of most stuff. Mm-hmm. This is the first time he had real problems, and guess what? It's tied to the Raimi-verse Tobey Maguire villains. So it is what it is. Obviously, I love all versions of Spider-Man, and I want to continue to get them until I'm no longer here. But Tobey Maguire is the OG, and we don't have an MCU without him. So let's just all remember that.
Yep.
Wrapping this up, Babs, what do you have? A rating? Watchable, rewatchable,
definitely rewatchable.
Forgettable.
I'm already planning when I will rewatch it. That's how rewatchable it is.
Yeah, this is a layup. It's not even. Obviously, it almost seems like we always say rewatchable in this podcast, and there's a reason for that because we tend not to do them when the movie is forgettable.
It's really shitty. Like I don't even want to talk about it. That's how.
Yeah, spending 15 minutes talking about a forgettable movie seems like a waste of everyone's time. So, but in this case, it's 100% a rewatchable, and I can't wait to be able to rewatch it. This podcast may not be a rewatchable, and if you were thinking that it was a waste of your time, remember,
no one asked for this.